Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, and we get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time. Talk about strategies, share success stories, talk about tactics and such. Ultimately, we're here to support each of you because your success is our success. We've had a number of conversations, most recently with Frankie, who's on the call here last evening. She recently has signed up with Synergy Direct. So let's start with a clarification. So we have no financial interest in Synergy Direct, none at all. I mean, we have a financial interest in your success, of course, but nothing with Synergy Direct. When you hear us talk about Synergy Direct as a lead source, is just simply because we see a number of you using that resource with tremendous success. So it's just as transparent as that. But as I was talking to Frankie yesterday and others recently, there were some discussion about scripts, and I think it was Jeanette maybe that asked yesterday, I forget, but periodically people will ask for scripts, and I don't know that our responsibility is to give you word for word what to say, because it shouldn't sound canned and you have your own style, but we do want to support and train and assist you in the technique. And so we're going to talk today about the technique. And this really isn't my model when it gives recognition to Timothy. So we can call this the Timothy model if you want, and I'm bringing it forth to you. So it's one way to go about closing leads. Is it the only way? Of course not. Now, the scripting and technique, the 4 steps that we're going to talk about today, is making some assumptions. So the first assumption is that you're a white label partner. The second assumption is that you are not using a method whereby it's no verbal communication. In other words, it's not a fully automated system, because if you have a fully automated system, which is fine, and that's available, Scott Stroud, our chief marketing officer, can set that up for you, but then there are no scripts, right? There's only steps in the process. So what we're discussing today is an assumption that you're a white label partner and that you're going to speak to the prospect to close them. And what we're focused on is the access to capital campaign or proposition. Fair enough? Let me make this just a little bit larger. Okay, so there's 4 steps to this process. My goal is to describe to you the goal of each step, how to do it, and why it's important. But when it comes down to the specific wording, it's ultimately up to you. Okay, so step 1. So again, you've got to remember the context of this. This is not if you go on to Sales Axle, Genie, Reference USA, whatever it's called, and get a list of prospects. These 4 steps would not work the same way with a cold list, if you will. These are the 4 steps, assuming that you're getting leads from Synergy Direct or somewhere like that, whereby you know that they're actively looking for capital. So could we take a similar approach to cold calling? Sure, but that's not what we're talking about today. So just keep that in mind. So let's assume that you've signed up with Synergy Direct or something like that, or you have someone that referred you a client, an accountant or a banker or a website developer, but you have a lead that you have in your presence, an email of, and so you know a little bit about that lead as far as what they're looking for, how much capital, you know their name. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing we want to do is verify. What's the goal here? You want them to know that you're not just making a blanket cold call. Now, the truth is, even if you made a blanket cold call, what we're offering is needed and valuable, and you can help them and you can make a lot of money, but people don't like to be cold called. They like to have a reason why you're reaching out to them. And tomorrow we'll do a variation of this on a cold call and how to make a cold call not seem like a cold call. But in this case, you have a lead from Synergy Direct. Synergy Direct will email you that lead. It'll have the person's name and email and phone and location and how much capital, how long they've been in business, how much money they're bringing in. You've got a data set. So that's what we're trying to do in step one, is to help them understand that you're responding to their request. Now, their request might not have been to you individually. It might have been through the system, like the Synergy Direct system, but you are responding to a request that they've made. Well, how would you go about accomplishing that? Well, it's really quite simple. You're going to make references to the information that they submitted that you have, because you're going to know exactly, for instance, how much capital. Maybe they're looking for $287,000. Well, if you made reference of that during step one, that's going to add credibility, right? Because they're like, oh, damn, okay, yeah, I did ask for 287,000. Or maybe it's 250,000 and they're looking to buy a piece of real estate. The point is, use paraphrase some of the language that is in the data set that you received to verify in their mind that you're not doing a blanket cold call, that you're calling them in response to their request, even though that request might not have been to you individually. Make sense? So before we move on to step two, I want to make sure we're all good with step one. Any questions on step one? So I don't feel like it's my job to give you word for word what to say. You're talented professionals. So I'm giving you the technique, and it's up to you exactly what you want to say. Everyone good with step one? You're verifying with them why you're calling, and you're using some of the specifics of what you received about that prospect to accomplish that. Good? Okay, let's move on to step two. We'll make it even larger. Now we're on to step two. This is Timothy's approach, and you may like it, you may not like it. Doesn't really matter to me, but here is how Timothy goes about accomplishing step two, which he calls qualification. So Timothy's goal, step two, is to explain to the prospect that this is a grant subsidized program with no upfront cost and a guaranteed capital raise, and that we're very selective in who we enroll. So in step one, what we accomplished is they understand why we're calling them. They've made a request. We know about that request. We understand that request. Now we're taking control to determine, are they worthy? And so the how is essentially the same as the goal. And what we're doing is, it's the thread of the takeaway, because if they feel like what you're offering is something that's available to everyone, then they don't feel special, and they tend to the prospect will tend to feel that they're more in control than you are, because you have the program that's no upfront cost, guaranteed capital raise, grant subsidized, and you are making the decision, are they going to move forward or not? So you're taking control of the conversation and relationship. Again, this is the Timothy model. If you don't like the qualification step, that's okay, but that is his approach. How he's doing it is really just this sentence. So there's not a lot more to it. I don't want you to overcomplicate it. He's just clarifying, okay, we'll role play with Kat, who's on the line. So I've done step one with, well, we'll go through it. So let's role play. So we'll pretend that Kat is a prospect. And so I pick up the phone. Now I know when to call Kat, because Kat has put on the form through Synergy Direct the best time to reach her. And so phone rings, ring, ring. Kat answers. I say, may I speak to Kat, please? And Kat's going to say, Kat speaking. I'll say, well, hi, my name's Thomas Montgomery, and I'm calling you based upon the capital request that you had submitted into us. My records show that you're looking for $223,568, and you're going to be using that for working capital for your XYZ business. So again, I don't have to give too much details. I want to say as little as possible to move through these steps, but that's enough that Kat should remember, oh yeah, I requested that amount for that purpose. So then, great, moving forward. Great, Kat. My goal today is to see if you qualify for our grant subsidized program that has no upfront cost, a guaranteed capital raise, but we're very selective in who we enroll. So that is how we would introduce step 2. Now, you might say, well, what are we actually doing to qualify them? Well, you and I know that there's a couple elements of qualification for the access to capital. It needs to be a US-based business. And of course, you would have already known that from the specifics that you received from the lead source. The business has to be legal in its nature. You know, we can't fund human trafficking, child porn, fentanyl distribution, but you will already have known that. So at that point, it's kind of up to you to put your sizzle, and Timothy has his own unique style. Each of you will have your own style, how you're wanting to qualify them. But let's just say that I'm me and talking to Kat, and I'm going to offer a couple qualifying questions. So Kat, let me ask you, are you looking for that? I forget what I said, $250,000 immediately. Is that capital that you need now? And most likely she's going to say yes, or if she says no, then I ask, okay, well, how much capital do you need now? Our program is very selective in who we choose to work with, and we need to make sure that this is something that you're looking to do now. In other words, creating urgency. So at this point, then, with the 4-step process, we verified why we're calling. It's not a blanket cold call, and we've done some sort of qualification. So we're taking more control of the relationship and the conversation. So now we're down to the pitch. On the pitch, we want to say the least amount necessary to move them to step 4. Some of you are just so smart and so well-spoken. You just talk and talk and talk and talk. You want to say as little as possible to move them through these 4 steps, not making them seem rushed or hurried or uncared for, as little as possible. So now I've got Kat down to step 3. All right, Kat, well, great. From what you've described to me, it looks like you qualify for our grant subsidized program with no upfront cost and a guaranteed capital raise. With that being said, I do need to let you know we'll get you your first tranche of financing within just a few days, typically 3 to 5 days. Once you have that initial round of funding, then we'll go ahead and build out your loan package for the larger business funding. With no risk and no cost, is this something, Kat, you'd like to give a try? So I'm doing a trial close. What does she say? So she's either going to say yes, maybe she has some questions. We want to, again, try to retain control of the conversation, move her along as quickly as possible. And so we want to get to step 4. And so step 4 is closing them on the phone now. Now, not later, not sending them something, say, will you please fill it out later, Kat? We're going to get this done now. And so how do we do that? We need to be able to provide them the ability to enroll now. And so that's going to be one of 2 ways typically. Either you're using online terms and conditions, and if that's the case, text them your link right now while you're on the phone with them. Text them right now so they can click on that damn link, accept your terms and conditions, and enroll right now. If you're not using online terms and conditions, which is fine, it's not a requirement, then you're probably using some sort of e-signature software like Adobe or DocuSign, whatever you prefer to use. Then we need to email them the packet right now, not later, right now, because we want them to enroll when? Right now. So we're going to get them the link to your terms and conditions or email them your e-signature packet. And what are you going to do? You're going to stay on the phone. So let's continue the role play. So I'd say, okay, Kat, sounds like that you're really a good fit for this program. We do have limited availability, but I would like to extend to you an offer to participate. I did just either text you the link or emailed you the link. We'll just pretend that we're using Adobe or DocuSign, so I just emailed it. So continuing the role play. All right, Kat, are you close to your Gmail account now? Can you pull that up? I want to make sure that you received the packet to enroll in the grant subsidized program with no upfront cost and the guaranteed capital raise. And so I want Kat to literally check her email now. She might say, well, I'm at the grocery store. I'm not near my computer. I'll say, well, okay, put me on speakerphone. That's fine, Kat. And I just want to make sure that you have that Adobe packet. So she's got me on speakerphone. I hear the carts clinking, baby's crying in the background, butcher's cutting up a side of cow. I don't care what the background noise is. I'm staying on the phone with Kat. She's pulling up the damn email, right? Kat's going to say, oh, yeah, I see it here. That's what I want her to say, right? Because if she says, oh, I don't see it, now she's never going to sign up, right? Because she doesn't have it. It's gone into one of her filters. And so a lot of people are not very sophisticated. They use shitty emails like Yahoo, Gmail, American Online, Hotmail. So you guys say, okay, well, check your filters, check your all mail. You and I both know that they can't run a business successfully on consumer email, but you don't want to counsel them at this point. You're just trying to help them find the freaking email. We're going to stay on the phone until Kat finds that. If she doesn't have it, and we say, oh, I'm sorry, Kat, must have been my mistake. I'm going to resend it to you now. Give her a moment, and we'll stay on the line. I want to make sure you have it. No, I don't see it yet. All right, Kat, did you check all your folders? Let me confirm the email address I have. Don't have it? Okay, I'm going to send it to you again, Kat. I'm sorry. It must be my fault. And I'll send it to her 10 fucking times if I have to, because I want her to get that email. Because she's not going to sign up. She doesn't have that e-signature link. But most people will get it the first time, even if they have to look in filters. So say, okay, Kat, go ahead and click on that Adobe. And I'm going to stay on the line here as you go through it, see if you have any questions. So what's the point? I'm going to stay on the phone while Kat has the Adobe in this example pulled up until she completes the damn thing. I'm not going to get off the phone. I'm not being aggressive. I'm just saying, I'm here to help you, right? I'm here to make sure you don't have any questions. Now, the way that we have talked about this is when we enroll people in the access to capital, we don't have them complete the funding app at the same time, right? Because now it's like, oh, I don't know my driver's license number. I'll have to do this later. Oh, hell no. No. We're going to enroll them in the access to capital process now. We're going to get the app filled out as a second step. Need to get them enrolled because we want to have them as a client. So why is it that we want to close them while we're on the phone? Because we don't want to delay. The sooner they get started, the sooner they get funded, and the sooner that you get paid. All right, so now I want to discuss this for a couple minutes, and then we'll wrap up most likely early. How is this different than what you're doing now? If you could post in the Q&A of Zoom. Is this what you're doing now, or is this vastly different, a little bit different? Alfred, could you go ahead and let us know? Andrea, Bernard, Collis, I'm looking for your feedback. I won't expose you. I won't say your name. I just want to know, is this similar to how you're closing deals or different? And if it's different, what do you think of it? Collis, Dawood, Don, Doug, Frankie, we just talked last night. Tell me about what your thoughts are. Jeanette, Jose, Kat, Lynette, Lon, Linda, Pauline, Quincy, Tarrant, Zeta. We've got 320 on here. So I want your feedback. Is this something that you feel comfortable in doing and trying to close more leads? Because if you're not making, well, let's just be direct. If you're not earning $100,000 a month as a white label partner, there's something wrong. And either it's you don't have leads, and we've discussed where that can be solved in a matter of about 2 minutes, or if you have leads, then you're frankly not very good at pitching the leads. And so this is not the only way, but this is the Timothy way, and Timothy makes a lot of money. Timothy drives a Porsche 911. Timothy knows what he's doing. And so you don't have to do it Timothy's way. But if your way is not working, you might want to give Timothy's way a chance. Now, a couple of you are bringing up some interesting points, and so I'll share it with the group. Timothy describes the program very briefly. It's all in all caps, very briefly. Timothy's not spending a lot of time talking to them about every element. Well, there's 4 modules, and we're going to build your business plan. We're going to put together financial projections. Yes, everything that we do, we're going to do, that we say that we're going to do. But those are not hot buttons that's typically going to motivate someone to enroll. So we're never, ever, ever going to lie, cheat, or steal. But sometimes, respectfully, some of you just want to talk too much. Talk, 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 talk. You want to say as little as possible to move them through the process. What do they care about? They care about the funding and the timeline primarily. Now, they may also ask you, well, what's the interest rate going to be? Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see what the bank offers you. How long is it going to take? Great question, Don. We're going to get you your first tranche of financing in normally 3 to 5 days. So obviously, if they ask a question, you answer the question, you answer it honestly, but you have some control in how you answer it, right? One of the things that Timothy doesn't do, and Frankie and I talked about this last night, Timothy does not say it's $100,000 guaranteed capital raise. Now it is, and it's in the agreement, but Timothy doesn't talk about that. Why? Because some people want a different amount than 100,000. And it's true. We guarantee, it's in writing, we promise, we'll guarantee them at least 100,000, but some people want a different amount. Some people want more. So if they hear you say, oh, we guarantee 100,000, to them it's a negative. It's like, oh shit, if it's only 100,000, this isn't worth my time. I need $40 billion. So Timothy's approach is to reference, it is a guaranteed capital raise, which is true, but he doesn't specify the amount. So that way it doesn't filter people out. There is no upfront cost. That's true. When they enroll, they pay nothing. They get their first tranche of financing, and then they're going to pay the refundable deposit. Notice in Timothy's script, he's not getting bogged down with all that. Well, we'll get you your first tranche of financing, and then I'm going to invoice you for your refundable deposit, and it's $2,500, and you'll get it back. I mean, all that's true, but that's often too much, right? We need to describe it as briefly as possible to get them closed. And essentially, if you reiterate the key elements, this is a grant subsidized program. There's no upfront cost. It has a guaranteed capital raise. So there's no risk. Let's give it a try. What do you say? We'll go ahead and give it a try. Can you check your email CAD again and see if you have that? So it works. It may not be the way that you want to do it, but it works. So let's see what feedback we have here. We have, and again, I'm not going to read your names off because I told you I wouldn't. So we see feedback that this is a different approach. And again, if your approach is working, you're enrolling at least 8 clients a month, you're putting at least $100,000 onto your QuickBooks as either cash received or receivables. If it's not broken, I wouldn't change it. But for some of you, it might be time for a change. Another one says, no, another review says, no way near what I'm doing, but we'll start ASAP. Collis actually says, yes, it is his model or what he's doing. Got a thank you. Someone said lack a sense of urgency. Yeah. So when you create some level of exclusivity, we're very selective in who we enroll. You get them on the phone. You get them the ability to sign up either your link or the Adobe or DocuSign packet, and you stay on the phone until they do it. Almost everyone will do it. Almost everyone will enroll if you stay on that damn phone call. All right. Pauline just bought leads from Synergy. Quincy says he likes the approach. Okay, well, that's our goal for today. Our goal for today was to explain the Timothy model, the 4-step process on how to close leads when you have leads that are actively looking for capital. Tomorrow we'll flip this and it'll be different. but we'll talk about how to approach it when you just have a cold list. You have a list of small businesses, but not those that are that have already explicitly reached out for capital. A little tougher, still works, but this is where you're going to close. You should close over 50% of your leads if you use this model on this system. Now, if you get a bad lead from Synergy Direct, you need to get with them because they'll replace bad leads and give you a good one. If the phone number doesn't work or they say, no, I'm not really looking for capital, they'll take care of you there. So I'm not here to talk to you about how to get the leads today. Today, we're talking about what to do once you have the lead. And we've talked about the 4-step process. All right, Samuel's asking, what if he only wants 3 steps? He doesn't want to do, well, I don't, that's too strong. He's considering not doing step 2. Well, that's your choice. And you could try it, that approach. But I think, well, you have to decide, Samuel, and you're successful. So all of you are welcome to skip, to not use this model or use it or vary it. That's up to you. Quincy's asking, and we'll close after this, where do you go into the pricing? Because Quincy noticed, Quincy's one of our new RVPs and white label partners, and Quincy realizes, hey, wait a second, we didn't talk about pricing. We didn't talk about the refundable deposit. We didn't talk about the performance fee. That's correct. In this model, we don't get bogged down with that. We don't get bogged down with that. Now, if you feel composed to talk to them about that, you could talk to them about how you think the Federal Reserve is going to increase interest rates by another 75 basis points next month. You could talk about that. If you want to talk about the S&P futures being down 44.5 this morning, which is a 1.16 decrease, talk to them about that. You can talk to them about whatever you want. But all you need to do is to create a client relationship is to get them through these 4 steps and get them closed. So again, it's up to you. As far as offering the access to capital versus the SBA Express, you could do either one. The SBA Express is not free up front. It has a fee up front. And therefore, and Quincy, you're more sophisticated than some of our distribution partners. Most of you will do best if you take to the market something that has no upfront cost and has no risk. So that's why we're big proponents of taking access to capital out. But yes, some of you are more sophisticated in enrolling people in the SBA Express. This system doesn't work for the SBA Express. That's a different campaign. All right, well, thanks everyone. We're off to an exciting and great October. September was a record-breaking month, by the way, for us. And so we'll see if October can continue that streak. Thanks everyone. See you back tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.